happy Sunday evening. How are y'all doing? I hope that you have enjoyed a good Sunday. So we're still in North Georgia, and it was cold and rainy this morning.
Yeah, you don't see us outside with a campfire tonight.
Yeah, no, outside tonight.
Temperature, we probably could have done it, but when it comes to the wetness, it just wasn't worth it. So
it ended up just that steady, slow rain all through the night last night, and then all this morning, and so we haven't even set back up. Kevin did snag up our camping chairs last night, and put them up under the nose so they wouldn't get so wet, and so we haven't even set all that back up. So we're hoping still to have a night of some nights outside.
So you get us in our living room.
That's right.
That just so happens to be 7 feet away from our kitchen.
And the office is sitting
and
beside
the
her,
office
too.
and the dining room. The office is set up next to Casey tonight.
Yes,
so.
we have had a productive weekend. We actually did not have a lot of plans this weekend. Yesterday we got to be here and just kind of chill most of the day, which we haven't done in a while. And
your iPad on the Wi-Fi, because I don't want to mess that up, and it's like live video interrupted.
Okay, so yes, you can take my iPad off the or you can just quit watching. We'll try to watch from here. Are y'all so good at can you still? Oh, it says Teresa says that we're frozen. Some of it could be our service here as well. Are we frozen on Instagram? Maybe not. We'll just keep going and we'll try. We are in a beautiful park right on the lake, and so we're in a bunch of trees, and so our service is probably not fabulous, but we're gonna try. So anyway, we have been, as usual, to put your comments. If you have any questions for us or comments, you can put them down in the comments, and we will. Chloe always tries to watch those so that we can answer any of your questions. So it's good on Instagram. We're gonna see if Facebook works then, because my phone is not on our Wi-Fi. So anyway,
one thing that I got to work on this week was video editing stuff, and so some of you may have seen it already, but we got our Niagara Falls video posted. That was back in early October, maybe late September. I forget now, but
I think it was September.
Yeah, late September. So anyway, we got that up and posted. It is a fun video. So if you haven't watched that yet, I encourage you to go check that out when we're done.
It is a
sometime this week.
Really fun video. So yes, so we were saying that we had gotten a lot of work done this week. So this weekend. So we have we're shaking again. Anyway, Kevin got some editing done. I got some stuff done. So anyway, that's something I can mention. One of the things that I've been working on is I have dropped the ball on newsletters for January and February because life just overtook. And so I'm working on a newsletter that'll come out this week for March, a new newsletter. And so that's something, if you don't get our newsletters via email, you can go to throughtheeyesofourtribe.com. And at the very top, there's a button that you can click that says join, and you can put in your email address, and that will put you on our newsletter list. So do that if you haven't already.
Yeah, and we typically have a little bit of different content in every area. The YouTube is kind of a lot of the travel stuff with a little bit of ministry stuff mixed in. A lot of the Facebook and Instagram is more of the ministry with just life mixed in as well. And then the newsletter just dives deep into some of the more personal, some of the stories and some of the things that we are experiencing and learning as individuals or our family. And so I encourage you to check that out.
It's a little more intimate feel.
Yeah.
So
Somebody said they watched our podcast.
Oh yes, that's right. I forgot we could talk about that. We were thinking back through all the things. And yes, so super fun. If you saw my post this week, we were able to be on the Collide Kids podcast. Our episode aired this week. And so if you haven't gone to listen to that, go listen to that. It was a lot of fun. A lot of connections. This will be a good bridge into the thing we were going to talk about. Because one of the things we decided that we would kind of share is why we've camped out in North Georgia for a little while. And the podcast was Kristen does that kids podcast. It's geared towards kids, elementary age kids. And Kristen was a good friend of ours from First Baptist Atlanta from our time there. So when we were at First Baptist Atlanta as ministers in residence, Kristen was one of a handful of young single girls right out of college. We were all friends with them, and they actually ended up living above us. She and some of her roommates lived in the apartment above us. And
when
so
Chloe was born.
When Chloe was born.
We often found ourselves apologizing to them. I would apologize to them when I got to work in the morning. I hope we didn't keep y'all up last night.
So it was fun. We had a good time with Kristen reminiscing. And so be sure, especially if you have kids, if your parents have kids, to go check out her podcast because it's a neat... to put on in the car, to put on in the car while you ride, to whatever. It's just a neat thing for kids to listen to as well because it's geared towards kids. So
yeah.
Anyway.
And so that's something that we had a great time reminiscing with her when we did that podcast. When we did that, we were actually in Jacksonville at the time when we recorded that with her. And so we've been able to kind of continue that theme as we've traveled, as we've made our way up north. As Casey mentioned, just one of the things, last week we mentioned that we were in North Georgia. We're still up in the North Georgia area, although we've moved campgrounds.
We did.
And so part of the story of, okay, why North Georgia? For those of you who don't know, that's where Casey and I, actually, our story together began in North Georgia. My very first job out of college was with an organization called Adventures in Missions. I was one of the accountants for the organization, and I moved immediately after college to Gainesville, and I lived and worked on staff at Adventures in Missions there in Gainesville for 3 years before going on staff at Northside or Riverbend Baptist Church, where I served with Bucky Kennedy there, and he brought me on staff there, and that was my first full-time ministry position on staff at a church. I was serving at the missions organization doing accounting, but that was my first full-time church position. So
yes. And before I make, be sure if you're watching on our Facebook Live especially, to share our live, and that'll help more and more people to see that we do this on Sunday nights and to tune in with us. So if you'll do that while you're watching, to share the live, that would be fabulous.
Yeah.
So Kevin moved here in 1997 to Gainesville. I moved to Gainesville in 1998 and started college at Brenau University.
I didn't start college.
He was done with college.
I was a little slower in school. No, faster. Yes, we're not the same age.
Yes.
She's 5 years.
Yes.
My
5.5 years younger, yes. So I moved in 1998 and started college at Brenau University. And it was during our time, towards the end of my college, around my senior year, that we ended up starting to date. We knew each other from some mutual friends that I had that went to the same church that he was at, Riverbend. I was actually attending a different church. And then we ended up being connected the summer before my senior year. We were on the same flight from Atlanta to Amsterdam. Kevin was leading a mission trip group with his with the church at that point. You were with the church at that point.
Yep.
So he was leading a mission trip to Africa. I was actually headed to Eastern Europe with my sister to visit some missionary friends and my parents. My sister was staying for the summer, and we were all on the same flight. And so I ended up coming back, I came back to start my senior year, the end of the summer. We had some mutual friends getting married. So Kevin was in the wedding, and I ended up being his date to the rehearsal dinner, and the rest is history.
That's right. And oddly enough, she mentioned the trip that I was helping lead to Uganda. And this week, I haven't even mentioned this to Casey, but this week I got a message on Facebook Messenger from my interpreter from that trip. Really? So whatever year that was, 1999, 2000, I forget. But all these years later, somehow he found me and sent me a message, and so we've connected. He's a pastor at a church there in Uganda, and it was neat just to get that message from him and kind of reconnect.
So
makes a big world
Yes,
small.
it does. We got married. I graduated in May of 2002. We got married in September of 2002. So this year is actually our 20th anniversary. But all of that to say, we then lived here in Gainesville, or lived in Gainesville. We're not in Gainesville anymore, but we lived in Gainesville for about a year before we moved to Louisville to start seminary. And so there are a lot of people in the Gainesville area, in the North Georgia area, that were so instrumental in that season of our lives. And so instrumental really in, that has really crossed all the seasons of our lives. There's quite a few people that we've kept in touch with over the years that we have seen each other, them and us, through different seasons all the way around. And it always comes, it was interesting because one of our sweet couples that we're good friends with and we just have really stayed connected with through the years, it was interesting because, they've seen us through so many seasons, but then one of their daughters ended up coming to ABAC. And which is in Tifton where we were. So it was just full circle kind of as we, there's just a lot of people in North Georgia that are special to us.
Yeah, and we're never able to connect with everyone as we make our way around the country. We're not able to connect with everyone, but there are we've been able to connect with some people during this time, and it's been super encouraging to us to hear about what they're doing, but also they know us very well, and so the wisdom that they're able to share with us as well has been encouraging as we have been able to visit with them and just rekindle some of those relationships.
But we've said on several occasions over the last week that we leave our times with some of these people, or with all of these people, not some of them, but we leave our times with them so encouraged. And for that, it has been that way with our ministry as well. It's been encouraging over the last week or so, just in some financial progress of our ministry and just some further developing partnerships and increasing the people in our tribe, as we like to say. And so it's just been an encouraging time just to be up here with some people that we had not gotten to spend time with. Yeah, as most of you know, they're in the ministry realm like we are, and we're, as far as, visiting other churches on a Sunday doesn't ever happen. And so we never, for years we have not gotten to go other places on a Sunday because of our responsibilities on Sunday. And so the last 2 or 3 weeks we've been able to go to churches that we have connections with that were just really neat and special. So
yeah, and we're on our way. We're going to be making our way west and going to be doing some ministry in New Orleans later on. And so we've been making some of the plans for that, been in contact with, and you can pray with us about that. I'll be having a conversation tomorrow with one of the NAM missionaries in New Orleans, looking at some of the details of what we might be able to do and how we can partner with Send Relief. We have talked a lot about the Send Network, but Send Relief is also part of the NAM strategy, and so one of their journeymen will be we'll be in touch with her tomorrow, and so hoping to set up some neat ministry opportunities while we're there later next month.
yes, but first, before we go to New Orleans, we will stop through Arkansas, and we're going to be able to connect with some dear friends who are at a partnering church of ours and spend some time with them. They're actually going to get to go to New Orleans with us.
Yep.
So we're really excited about that. I've been looking forward to that, and that's been in the works for a few months. So
yeah, and Casey mentioned some of the encouragement, just as it is with a nonprofit, as we continue to operate our ministry, that's part of what we do is we have to raise the funds to help us be able to continue doing what we're doing. And so it's just been encouraging. Some of the people that are close to us, people in our lives that mean a lot to us, that have come on board and joined us as financial partners in our tribe. We thank all of you for the support that you show us, whether it be just encouraging words, whether it be praying for us, partnering financially, whatever it is. All of those things mean so much to us, and we appreciate each one of you that take time to pour into our ministry in those different ways.
Yep. Trying to think. This week is going to be a lot of school and work and a few meetings that we have and phone conversations, and then we will we will pack up and move out on Thursday afternoon. So we'll be moving again as of Thursday and starting to creep our way northwest. So
sorry, that was awkward, but that's how bad my eyes are. I was having to get closer because I saw a name and I couldn't tell what the name was.
I know we can see things flash at the bottom, but can't always tell what it says. So anyway, I don't think there's any
questions that folks have.
Chloe, did anybody?
I haven't seen any questions.
Wow, we are so wobbly.
Claire just ran from the back to the front, and so we're a little shaky there, but
Sorry.
Yes. This spot is, I just don't feel like we've been as stable. So it's interesting in the RV language, because we have our stabilizers, and we have considered and gone back and forth on different occasions. Would it help us to have, because there's 6 of us, would it help us to have, they make these tripod stabilizers that are in addition, that go under the nose on the front end. And
then they make another contraption that can hook onto the trailer hitch in the back. But at this particular site, we got here, and it's an incredible site, but it is it's sloped from, I guess, front to back, but it's also sloped from left to right.
yes.
And so it was a little bit tricky, and our stabilizers are a little more extended than they typically are. And so that makes us a little more unstable, but
yes, you had to do some manual leveling this time.
Yeah.
Whereas typically our auto leveling handles everything. So
yeah, but you kind of get used to it when you're living in an RV.
You live and learn.
There's a little bit of wobble to it.
Yes. Okay. Well, it is almost 8:20. So.
Yeah.
Don't forget to share our live video. You can comment if you come back and watch in the replay. We always like to see who watches.
And we answer those questions too. So if you're watching later and you have a question you think of, throw it on there.
Absolutely. Also, don't forget, we have got a couple of new videos. Kevin's really cranking them out now, and so we're trying to move through. And so they're usually they'll hit on Sunday afternoons, and so we've had one hit on Sunday afternoons the last 2 weeks. So there's a neat, if you're a history buff, you might go back and watch last week's video, which was our time in Pittsburgh. But we also visited the Flight 93 Memorial. And so if you're a history buff and interested in that time period in our history of 9/11, in our country's history, you will enjoy that video because that was a neat experience. And then this week's video was Niagara Falls when we visited there. So we have some good tips also if any of you are ever up in the Niagara Falls area. So
yes,
anyway,
indeed.
I think that's it. Can you girls think of anything else? Chloe and Claire have been in here with us. We hope y'all have a fabulous week. We look forward to seeing you again next Sunday night. And
yeah, thanks for joining us. If you haven't subscribed on our YouTube channel, if you would do that for us, that would help us out. And if you hit the notification bell on there, then you'll get notified when we do post new videos.
I was reading Miss Barbara's telling us all about how they had their 5th wheel set up. It did help. See, we may have to check into it. All right. Well, thanks, y'all. Have a good evening.
Thanks for joining us.